Surface Community Service meeting at 4:04. Denise, could you do this?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together today. We pray that you will be with us, guide our hearts and guide our minds as we make decisions for the Cherokee people. We pray that you will be with our military troops, both here and abroad, as they stand in the gap for our safety. Bless us as we go our separate ways tonight. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Roll for roll call.
Yes, sir. Dick White,
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Bill England,
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Don Garvin.
Honey.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Here. David Thornton. Victoria Vesquez.
Aye.
David Walkenstick. Brian Warner.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And thanks, Marshall Lamb.
Good afternoon, Council. What you have before you is a draft that will be used by our representative over at the Vet Center, Matt Tiger, for veterans. And then what he will do is share the information with us. What we're trying to do is get a list of all of our veterans and where they are and everything. We've been working on this since we opened, but this will just be another tool for this. And this is just a draft, so don't use this, but when we get the final one out, this front sheet right here will basically be what we need when you give a referral out. And if we could just have that and have it sent to me or sent directly to the vet center, then that will, at least we'll get them on there to either be honored or to go on the Warrior flight. And as a reminder, they have to be honored first, and then they're eligible to go on the Warrior flight. So I just wanted to share that with you and show you ways that we're trying to improve the services over there. I don't really have anything else to report if you have questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Buzzard.
Marcia, this is a question, I guess. Do we use the 211 system that's available here in Oklahoma? It's kind of like 511 system that you use sometimes when you're using a cell phone to get a number. This 211 is a service system throughout Oklahoma to where you can call that number in and ask for, like, say you're looking for a place that takes homeless people in, gives homeless aid to people. And what they'll do is it's all on a database, and you just dial 211,
Right.
brings it up, and you just tell that person what we're.
We've always been on that list.
So, do we use that here at the nation?
You mean, do we have the same service? No, but have it, there's a 211 organization
Yes.
that puts all that together, and we're on their list.
Well, I did some checking into it, and there's a lot of benefits that could be used in conjunction of what we offer our native people here. And I'd like to see if we could incorporate that into our maybe Cherokee First or into your program, because there are a lot of programs that they offer. And what I was wondering, if it would be all right with you and also this committee to have a representative from 211 to come to our next committee meeting and just give maybe a 15-minute overview of it.
Kind of like a one-stop shop or something.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. And they just offer so many services out,
I know that's been kicked around a whole lot.
and I would just sure like to see us take advantage of it. It's a free service, you know, it doesn't cost us anything to do it. Get to see what it's like, so. Mr. Chair, if that's okay, I'd like to have that put on the agenda for next meeting, for a short presentation from the 211.
I think that'd be fine. Are you or Marcia going to get the folks in to talk?
Yes, I'll contact them, make sure they come. If they don't, I'll notify you and the secretary. So, we can give them maybe 15 minutes or so to give an overview of it. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Any other questions? Sean?
Marcia, I was just gonna ask the committee here, I get calls and calls about refrigerators. Am I alone in that? Refrigerators and stoves?
Kind of runs in cycles.
Just, I mean, I know, Marcia, you're just doing what you can with your money you got, but in my area, could we get in that for the budget and try to get, you know, my simple brain has one of our buildings out here stocked full of refrigerators, and you know, there would have to be some sort of process, but it's a real need. Does anybody have a problem with that? But would you be against something like that, Marcia? And I know you try to help when you can, but it's such a process. I know you got to have a little process for everything, or everybody'd be wanting one. But it's such a no fault of yours or Gary's. We had a refrigerator debacle one time that just took forever. No fault of anybody's. But you know, like you've talked before, some of these folks need to keep their insulin cool, and but I'll be looking to do something like that if you don't mind. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
That's fine.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Just to answer Councilor Crittenden's question about that, I remember years ago, I've been around here for several years, but this came from Housing Authority. We had a warehouse out there that had stacks of refrigerators and stoves, and we just gave them out. I don't know, we can probably ask Gary when he gets up there, because they just change those refrigerators out from time to time. Some of them are still working. Some of the stoves are still working, and that's what we did back 15 years ago. We actually had them just in a storage warehouse, and so some of them weren't clean, but people were willing to come in and get them and clean them themselves. So it's an idea, you know. I think anything that we do, and I brought this up before about air conditioning units that the Housing Authority changes out. We need to do something with those things instead of taking them to the junk pile or getting them to the contractor that takes them out where he takes them to the junk pile. So those are some things that's simple to do. It's just a matter of fact of getting it done. I don't see any regulation that would stop us, but could be. You know, we got regulations against everything. But anyway, that's some things that we used to do, and I think Rex is probably familiar with some of that too that we used to do.
I don't ever remember giving any away.
I do. I remember we had them out there on 51 Highway at the buildings out there. We had stoves and refrigerators out there because I went and got, you know, some for some people out there and hauled them out to them. So.
They weren't new ones though, were they? They were the
They
ones
were
you took
working,
out
they
of
were
the
just
house.
old
Yeah.
units, yeah. Anyway, just an idea.
Curtis?
Well, I was gonna make a comment. Most of them that Hart is talking about, we never could get none of them work. I hauled much out, but they just didn't. Some would work, but they weren't right on.
We just need new ones. Any other questions?
Comment on
Yes, sir.
wood stoves. We used to order wood stoves in August sometimes at one time, and we always had those available.
Yeah, that's their Lahee.
Yes, the refrigerators, that's a different animal there.
Yeah. And not to open a can of worms here, but we do and have bought refrigerators for people, but it's usually the ones that have a medical need for it. There has to be a need before we spend that kind of money on a refrigerator. We used to get the ones from housing, and they were used ones, but they still work. They would take care of the meds that had to be refrigerated, or to keep their meats cool or whatever. The only thing with that is you're going to have somebody to go out and make sure that there's a real need out there, because you're going to get a lot of requests if people think they're new refrigerators.
And it's not just a simple task to change out a refrigerator as well. You've got
Yeah.
hookups you have to
Right,
be in
and
control.
if you get a frail elder, they're going to need you to hook it up and everything. And I have limited people that can do that, but that's what you run into. And on the air conditioners, the same thing. Is what we try to do is to make sure they have family members that can meet us out there to put it in the window and everything and tell them what they need. We can do it, it's just that we have other duties we have to take care of too. And we'd be spending all of our time doing what we're not really capable of doing.
We need to take care of that need in your area, because I can see where I used to teach in that area. I know. Those are the basic needs.
And we're really looking, and I can only speak for our programs, really looking at what this new budget's going to do, because they have zeroed out LIHEAP
Yeah.
and the HOSTA. And those are the ones that help the ones, to the most needy people. So.
Yeah.
But hopefully that'll change.
Yeah, maybe Congress will wake up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mr. Walker, speak.
This kind of your responsibility, the stoves. We put a stove in a woman's house there in Dry Creek. It was a barrel stove. We bought a kit for $25 at Atwoods, and we put the whole stove in there and the pipe and everything for $50. And we even deliver a brick of wood. I was wondering if we could do something along those lines, if we had space or storage to make those barrel stoves. And like I said, they're inexpensive. They're $50, and maybe partner with Diane Kelly's group with the welding, because there's a little welding that's involved, and have her group go in there and make some of those barrel stoves. I think we can get it done fairly cheap if.
You'd have to ask someone on safety regulations on that.
We put cement backer board around the sides of it, because we put it in the corner of the house. That way it absorbs a lot of heat.
And
Or it takes off, not absorbs, but it takes off a lot of the heat. Just something to keep in mind there. A lot of people have barrel stoves in their houses. Thank you.
John, did you?
Just follow up, and I was even thinking, person in need, those compact $70 ones to begin with, we'd like to get them, but, they sell those mini fridges, that keeps some milk, their insulin.
yeah,
And as far as seeing if there's a real need, maybe we could assess that, and really, and we know our people, and just kind of get, when we come to you, say, now Marsh, this not somebody gonna auction this off tonight, but it's a family in need. We could help kind of weed some of that stuff out for you. But anyway, that's about all I got on that, Mr. Lay.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Just to add to that, we've got a lot of volunteer fire departments. We've got our Cherokee community groups. I've got some of the best in my district. One group, Rushy, they're partnered in, and they're now a community shelter set up. the Red Cross supports them. There's a gentleman there, he's not Cherokee, but I mean, he works with us a lot. And he's set up through the Fire Corps and set up through the BIA and all this. And what they have a grant program, they go out and they rake leaves off of people's houses. That, you know, that's fire danger, and he covers a specific radius. I'm not certain if we come up with something on our end that we couldn't get with him, and it may even cover up into your area. And depending upon what his radius is, it could install those things so that we're not just going out there willy-nilly and throwing them in there and creating more of a fire danger or things like that. But there are, that's just what I get to thinking about when my wheels get to turning on this, is to make sure that we got people to do it, to not put anything on Marcia, to not put anything on Bruce and the other groups, but to utilize, because these organizations out here, you know, I think they need to be more than just potluck dinners and the different things. I think they need to step up, and I see what the group is doing in my area at Brushy, Gary Bolin, and then they've got students coming in this week from either Ohio State or somewhere, and they're looking for homes to go out and fix and do things for people and stuff. And this could be an avenue. You know, you're not going to catch all of them, but you might catch a few of them. So that's all. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Harley?
I got on a different subject, Marcia. Donated food, does that fall under your program? I had asked the Attorney General some time ago to look at a waiver for people living in southern Ottawa County to get those donated foods. Has that been worked out yet? Or
Ottawa, or are you talking Miami?
Yeah, Miami, south of, yeah.
Yeah,
Has that been worked out yet?
we're working on it. I
Okay.
think we're gonna try to piggyback off of that waiver,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
good, yeah, that makes sense to do that. Okay, thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Harlan. And your office is working on that?
Yeah, there's a
That's okay.
waiver that the Miami tribe did, or I can't remember.
There's 5 tribes in that area up
Yeah.
there, and I think what they were gonna do is piggyback with those tribal
Yeah.
governments up there to get their donations.
Yeah, there's a spot that big around it doesn't get service, so if we can, what I would like is some of them live a bit further away. It's easier for them to go to the Miami
Yeah, it
tribe.
is.
And what I'd like to see happen is that those people have a choice.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it got worked out, Mr. Chair, as far as getting those people served up there. So.
I have one area too, but I'll get with you.
Where?
Offline.
Where's that at?
Bartlesville.
Oh, okay.
It's complicated anyway. Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Marcia. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone.
See you.
Afternoon.
I have a short little discussion here that I wanted to bring up to everybody, just for your information. We, the Cherokee Nation, have approximately 27 programs that's all funded by NAHASDA through the Indian Housing Plan. Anyway, that program is spread all the way across the Cherokee Nation, and I know Marcia has a program or two, and there's others that have programs on those. Right now we are in the 2017 year, and we're 5.5 months into it, and we don't have very many of the folks here that actually work those, but I just wanted to give them some kudos because everyone seems to be right on target for their budget. The budgets that we have. We spend about $2.6 million every year, every month on those programs, and I think they're all good programs. And for those programs to be on budget is really, really good. And a lot of times if we run over budget, and right now, everyone is just right on, and so it's a good feeling. And I just wanted to bring that up, and that's really all I have. And if there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Okay. Any questions?
I got,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
you said we were spending 2017 in the halls of funds?
Yeah.
If not, does that mean that we've spent all of 2016 and 2015? Rolling those up, you know, for
Yeah.
years for a
This
while.
this is actually 2017 money.
Okay, 2017. Have we spent all of the 2016?
It's
Okay,
gone.
so we're on 17. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Welcome. Anyone else? Thank you, Ron. Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Chair, I had a question that,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Well-
ahead. Go ahead,
the
Art.
question was, on our water and sanitation funds, have we got the dollars in yet?
No, we have not. As of about an hour ago, the last time I checked, we had not gotten.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I thought maybe you'd forget me again. No, I'm joking. It's good to be here as always. I know y'all have had a long day. I don't think that there's anything that I need to report. You have the report, so I'll just answer any questions that you might have or try my best.
Okay. Any questions for Gary? Okay, good.
I hate that.
How many houses do we have completed?
I believe it's in the report. I believe there's 509. And with that, that means that, and this is as of the end of January, so that means that we provide housing services to 6,844 families. 6,844 families receive some type of housing assistance through us, whether it's they live in one of our apartments, they live in one of our homes, we help them with insurance, or they get rental assistance programs through us. But that's the money we get. It's divided up into amongst those folks, and that's usually about how many we help on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Something that y'all should be very proud of.
You bet. Thank you. And Harley?
Well, I would just, I think we beat the refrigerator to death. Are we gonna be changing anything else then?
We don't usually, nowadays, anytime we get to a point of replacing one,
Yeah,
it's usually because it doesn't work,
didn't work.
or someone has left. And usually whenever they leave, and if they leave a refrigerator in like a house, usually the electric or power is off to it and it needs to be tossed. Or sometimes they might have visitors in them, and we couldn't do enough pest control on them to get the visitors out. I mean, we've looked at it several times to see if there's any usable, and usually by the time we get ready to, that we're pulling them out, they're,
So you do take that into consideration?
we do, absolutely. Sure.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. Victoria?
Yes, I have a comment and a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're
Family
welcome.
Housing, for our wonderful groundbreaking at Bonita.
You're welcome.
I have gotten so many positive comments from lots of people, city people, my pastor, and different people at my church, and people that aren't Cherokee. They're just excited this is going on. My next question is, when do we start building?
They are, as I was talking to some folks last Friday, is we're looking for a place to find some fill material, some padding material, dirt materials to build the pads. There's a couple of places that we thought we might be able to get some from. They didn't pan out. There's a lot of black gumbo up there. Okay. Let me visit with you whenever we get done. We looked at about 5 so far, and none of those panned out, but absolutely let me check and see. And just to give you a little bit of history, I went back and looked the other day before we did the little groundbreaking at Bonita, and it's just 11 homes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, it really is. One home, and to me, is makes a difference. If we can make a difference in one family, I'm happy. But anytime we can do more than that, that's always good. I went back and looked, and the first 5 houses we ever built in Craig County was completed and came online July 1974.
It's about time we got some new houses.
No, that was the very first. That's not all. And then our apartments up there, and actually we have a lot of apartments that are older than those, but those Buffington Heights, those came online in January of 1981. We have 60 apartments up there. So and that's kind of common in several of the areas we have. There's usually around 50 apartments. 60 is actually for a single property. Good.
Is there a possibility that Bonita would see, or in the area would see more rental? Because that seems to be a big need.
You know, I would hate to even take a guess right now. You know, if you've seen, you know, what has come out in the last week, I guess, about the proposed budget, as far as what the administration is submitting, it's going to be a significant cut to our block grant programs. I don't think and I'm hopeful, and I'll remain hopeful until, you know, the end, that that Congress will decide not to cut those programs like that, especially the ones, because it would mean about, best I can figure, a rough estimate would be about $6 to $7 million cut to our block. Our portion of that cut would be about that, and it's, you know, it's already significantly underfunded by the government. So I always remain hopeful that there's something going to come up, and actually I kind of have my eye on something that folks in DC have kind of talked about, as far as some specialized types of rental properties that could possibly come to fruition. But it's, if we could find a pot of money to pull it from, a special, you know, grant that might be out there, we would certainly look into doing that in any neighborhood. We always have our eyes open. It's just hard to find.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Brian?
Yes, sir, thank you. I guess along the same lines here, I'd got a call the other day from some folks at Belfont wanting to know, I knew we had talked about that little
Sure.
rental area. Any idea, or we're under the same circumstances?
Yes and no. That one's a little bit different because of the way we do have some money set aside to do that.
Okay.
I anticipate possibly by the end of this year we'll be able to start on that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Sean?
I was gonna ask, I would like, and I know federal side of the housing authority, I was gonna ask though, I've really been thinking lately, I would like a work group. I remember Councilor Taylor brought up the trailer idea a few months ago. I would like a little work group that discussed having some of those on hand. Canaan's been working real good with me. There's been some things in Adair County go on. There's, you know, different places where, you know, something happens and we have them here and we help, like an emergency, you know, response. And it, you know, I know it's a big thing to get into, but I would like to discuss that in a little work group if someone would get in there with me. And I'd also like the replacement home. That's great. Great. Here's a house you don't have to pay for. That's great. And I know they're doing what they can, but it's one thing to tell them, hey, we're gonna build you a house. and then 3 years later, they're still living in squander. Nobody's fault at all, except mine if I don't try to do something about it. But, you know, it's maybe something aside from the housing authority, but I've thought, you know, I've got buddies everywhere that build pole barns. And in my neck of the woods, that's kind of a fad anyway, little pole barn houses. But I would like to discuss something aside from new construction, which is great, replacement home. You know, look at some of those avenues, and like I said, Gary, that probably would be outside of the realm of housing authority.
I would agree.
This is a good time to talk about it, but just a few ideas like that I may have mentioned before, but really seems like if I mention it and just leave, I'm really not doing much unless I try to form a little group like that to discuss it. But Mr. Lay, you care to set up a little group to discuss?
Here's probably what I'd like to do if I could, Sean. You know, I think several of us have talked about, you know, the pole barn buildings and the metal homes like Curtis builds a lot of them, and the trailer houses. I think there's probably 3 likely suspects for low-cost replacement homes. And would you agree with that, Gary, or not? That is
No,
what we're talking about, at least.
I would say that those are probably about your 3 options.
You do, I think you told me 15.
14.
14 replacement homes.
14 replacement homes a year.
So you're doing what you can do.
Absolutely.
That's real good.
Yeah.
And so who would like to serve with Sean on the replacement home situation trailers? Okay.
Charlie, Counselor Buzzard, Counselor Hargis, Counselor Warner.
Could y'all email me when would be a good time for you to set up, and I'll try to be there too, to at least start you.
Like you to be there.
Would that be okay?
Counselor Hatfield.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What, have we ever thought about, it probably wouldn't fall under the housing authority, but what about homes that are just for sale? You know, that, like, okay, you're Cherokee County, any county, wherever, homes that are for sale that we could, and if they needed repair, we could repair them. We could buy them, Cherokee Nation could buy them. It's just, I mean, what issue would we have with something like that? I mean, I know that's out there.
I think it would first kind of depend on what kind of program we were looking at it for. I can tell you that I know in the past, before housing rehab came over to our to the housing authority, that there was a few times where there was a reason where they did have to move a family. They might have lived in a floodplain, or there was an issue with the property. There was some reason they could not build on the site that they were at. And I think there was a couple times that they actually did, like, find a home and buy and rehab and repair.
Is that just out there? I mean, is that just too?
If we're talking about replacement homes, no, it's not out there. The only problem is there's usually a reason why the family wants to be on the replacement home program. They don't want to leave. They do not want to leave that home place. They're not going to go somewhere else. No matter, and trust me, I've seen it time and time before where we have been out to places and we're like, we have you on the list for a replacement home. We'll be happy to leave you there. We need to get you out of this spot today if we can. Would you move to town and at least move into an apartment until you come to the top of the replacement home list and you can get one? And that's been something, even back whenever rehab was at community services, we would get those calls and we would say, yes, we will find them something. And the family will not move. So that is one of the biggest problems we face on that side of it.
I just think they're.
But like, for instance, if folks are just looking for housing assistance and are looking at like the MAP program, for instance, through Anna and Shay's group, yeah, they do acquisition homes all the time. Yeah. And it works really great on that program. On the replacement home program, it does not work as well because there's usually some ties to that land. Either it was grandma and grandpa's, it's been family land for a long time, or they just flat out do not and will not leave for whatever reason. Absolutely.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Follow up on that. Let me ask you this, Gary. Now, does the housing authority buy properties to rent,
No.
like she's talking?
To rent, no. We don't have any funding stream that would allow for that.
You want some?
If you're asking me if I would ever turn down money, I don't think I would ever say no.
But, I mean,
But
I was kind of joking, but really,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't.
Ricky can attest that, you know, and everyone here, I'm just in Adair County for sure. That's all I know. But I mean, Sean, I need a place to stay. Well, welcome to the waiting list, and I'm sorry. You know, and everybody's hands are tied, and no one's to blame. But to go back, I hate to expand here, but I still don't understand like some of the tribal land beside like Greasy School. You know, why we can't do housing there. You know, it's land that people can rent to hunt on for $15 a year, maybe. They can lease it. And but
That's outside of my area of expertise. That would be
Right.
realty.
Right, but man, I can just picture, you know, not everyone wants housing additions, but there's some spots that would be perfect for that. And like David mentioned, you know, if I don't do that kind of work, but if I understand right, that would generate money as well for the schools, wouldn't it? Somewhat.
Impact aid.
And, but I've never had a real clear answer on that. Who'd you say?
Well, as far as tribal property, I mean, it would be realty. If you're and beyond that, I'm not exactly sure. I think the problem you're going to have if you ever do it as like a rent to own type program, and I mentioned this several times before, is it sounds to me like it's going to be a true rental program because since it's a piece of tribal land, you'd probably never want to give it to someone or deed it out of the inventory. So they would never have the ability to own it, which would always be an issue. But again, that's outside of my area of expertise, and a funding stream to do it. As far as rental property goes, the last apartment complexes that we built. The last time that there was money set aside through a program, we got to do that. We have 944 low rent apartments. The newest ones we have are 30 plus years old. We have 4 low income housing tax credit properties. That is a totally different stream of funding. The low-income housing tax credit properties. I think the newest one of those is approaching 15 years, and really I think the reason why, and Ron may be able to answer it more than I could, but I think the reason why we didn't do any more than 4 is because it got so competitive that I know like not too long ago I had looked, and it's a competitive type application process. There was, I think, 9 applications that all scored the same, and the way they decide who gets the top pick is they draw straws. It takes about $100,000 to put one of those proposals together.
But they're all full too, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of the low-income housing tax credit property is you can only build it in certain spots, but yeah.
Families in every one of them.
Sure, and that's any type of rental property. I mean, any type of rental property, period. I don't think it matters what type it is. There's usually rental property is one of those things where, it's always full.
Thank you.
And it's not, cheap to develop.
Okey-doke. Anyone else? Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, sir.
Ron, Walls, I should have kept you up there, shouldn't I? I apologize. Speaking to Michael Lynn.
This hopefully will be short and maybe sweet. The Federal Transit Administration is here. They're here to review some of the roads programs, and mainly the TTP program. And they have developed an agenda, and I've got a shortened version of their agenda, and I'd like to just pass it out to everyone. Take a copy if you want. If you don't, that's fine too. I think there's 17 there. 2 short pages. The actual agenda for this is going to be tomorrow and Wednesday. And if any of you have some time, you want to set in on the agenda, it will be in the roads department over across the street. I guess that way to the street. And I would suggest that if you have time, and I know there's a lot of things going on here, it would be great if you could sit in. So I mean that's all I have about that program. It's going on tomorrow and Wednesday is really good.
Okay. Any questions? I guess we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there enough? Get read the report.
Who's going to report for Anna Knight? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, unlike Gary, I really will make this short and sweet. This is not still in here. You have a copy of our report. There is one particular thing I'd like to point out, and that is April 28th. There's a home buyers fair at RSU Pryor campus from 2 to 7 p.m. That's specifically for people that don't necessarily have to be first-time home buyers, but just people in the housing market looking to purchase a home. There will be vendors and lenders and staff there to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Sir,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Shay, on that consumer loan holding, said there were 2 that were foreclosure prevention loans totaling $69,000. What kind of loans were those? Do you know?
I'm trying to think. I don't remember right off the bat. Typically, what we do, though, with a foreclosure prevention loan is we either catch up delinquent payments, or if they're already if they're in a good loan. So if they're at like a market rate loan that they can afford but just had some temporary setback, then we'll just pay enough to get them caught up with with the first mortgage holder. If it's what we consider a bad loan or a predatory loan or a high cost loan, and again, the temporary situation that caused them to fall behind has been rectified, then we'll buy out the first mortgage holder and they'll only have a mortgage with us.
Okay, I was just curious.
I can't remember what those
If they were
two.
agriculture loans or commercial business loans, auto body shop?
Oh, no. The foreclosure prevention loans are primary residences.
Oh, okay.
So consumers with a primary residence who are, getting ready to lose their home. And sometimes it's property taxes. I mean, sometimes they've stayed on, they've continued to make their mortgage payment, but for some reason or another have gotten behind on their property taxes. And once they become delinquent by 3 years, then the home can be sold at a sheriff's auction or a tax sale.
All right, I'm just curious about
Yeah, they're consumer loans.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
I just have a question for her offline.
Offline?
Offline, okay. Okay.
2 offline questions.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody from ICW today? Doesn't look like it that I can see. Okay. Old business, we have discussion, Dave, walk us through discussion, possible action.
Yes, Chair, this is a discussion of possible action for the clothing voucher program. I did visit with Lacey Horn today, and she said that they're still getting more information from the BOK on possible cards that they could use at any location. And so they're doing that just to be a cheaper source and give kids in, who was it that said that Stage went out of business in the area? Was it,
Mine went out.
Yours went out. Okay. So, so that's, I'm hoping that, you're with it. You guys have any, what's the status on the, coat and clothing program with Lacey Horn and?
Well, we're already contracted this year, so anything we do will have to be for next year.
Sure.
But, we're looking at other options. The problem is, you see all these stores closing, no matter, Pennies, all of them, and, things are changing from when, you can't just, people are buying so much stuff online that we're gonna run into this problem, is the way I see it going. So we are trying to see what the best avenue is, so we don't have the same problem in 2 years when it gets worse. And, but anyway, the way it is right now is we're looking at other options. We're looking at what the creeks have done for years, and other things.
Yeah.
We had a store that was interested and had a grand opening and everything, but it was the one here in Tahlequah.
Kachinas or
But
something?
yeah, they don't have the volume right now. They might someday, but right now they don't.
Well, I'm glad we're searching out other options, because I said it's causing a strain on all of our kids and stuff, and our families, most importantly. But well, when Lacey, I guess where Lacey's working with BOK on possible cards, like little credit cards they can use, and to give that to the tribe. But
Yeah, I haven't
there's
heard
some
what-
tax. There
yeah.
may be some tax.
Lacey was doing something.
Yeah. So Chairman, I like to table this for another month.
30 days, new business, none pending. Announcements.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. No announcements.
Say.
Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.